Hello and welcome back. This is Total OS Today, total technology for beginners and beyond. But for tonight, I have a totally awesome guest. You guys voted her the YouTuber of the month last year, last March, I think. But she is here tonight, all the way from the land of Dutch chocolates. Yummy. She's the incredibly talented and beautiful, fantastic singer songwriter Stephanie Forryan. Hello.
Hello.
How's things going?
Good. It's good. I flew in from Germany. Right now I'm back in Massachusetts, and so I'm a little bit jet lagged, but happy.
All right, so these Dutch chocolates, you and I have a little joke thing going back and forth. Just how good are they?
They are very good. Dutch, German, Swiss, it's all really good. Belgian, yeah.
That, that's it. Rub it in. Thanks a lot. I thought we were, I thought we were friends. I'm just kidding. Oh, so real quick, how did you get started with music? I guess it was at a young age, and does that sound right?
Well, I mean, kind of. I never really took it seriously until I finished college, actually.
Okay,
So I was a pretty late bloomer, musically speaking.
okay. And was this something natural after that? You just hit it off immediately, or was it just a passion, or it was an instinct? How did it work out for you?
Well, I had always wanted to be a musician, and I, played a couple of open mic nights at my high school and things like that. But
Uh-huh.
my whole family is very much into, working hard and doing a real job. And so I just always figured, well, music. I was always told, music is a hobby. It is not something that you should ever do seriously. And
Yeah.
so, even in school, I wasn't allowed to join the school chorus or anything
Mm,
because school is for school and not for singing. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, like, it was something that I was wanted to do. I was interested in it, but I just figured, well, that's not something that I could do. And so I studied linguistics in
Yeah.
college, and
Uh-huh.
then I graduated and I had to, think of what to do. And I said, well, I want to be a musician. So I moved to Germany and became a musician.
Of all places, Germany. How did you so how things work out? You did a few concerts last year, right? There.
Yes.
Okay. How did it work out for you?
It's good. I got started actually because I had when I was studying linguistics, you have to pick a family of languages to study. And
Yeah.
so I, picked Germanic languages, and so I went over to Germany to study, and I had met some people over there, and then was, friends with them over here as well. And when I was finished with college, they just said, well, if you move over here, Europe has some really good programs for artists, and, because here in the U.S., it was before the days of Obamacare and everything, and so
Yeah.
it was hard to be insured as, just like a normal
Right.
self-employed person,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially just out of college and just starting in an industry that I knew nothing about. So they're
Wow.
just like, well, if you start over here, the European government supports artists in a lot of just everyday normal ways like health insurance.
Yes.
And they're like, and by the way, you can stay with us,
Hmm.
and if you don't like it, you can just go back home. And I figured, well, it's now or never. So I went
Right.
over there
Hmm.
and got jobs as a studio singer
Okay.
and was playing, just little tiny, tiny holes in the wall.
Yeah.
And one night I was playing a concert to two people in this really tiny club.
Two
Um,
people.
yeah, it was
Okay.
just,
Oh,
it was
you and your mom. I mean, you and your dad. Okay. Okay. Okay.
pretty much, I mean, it was like, really, really, really small beginnings. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I was sharing the stage that night with another girl.
Yeah.
And we just got to talking, and she's like, "Oh, I really like the fact that you give your all even though there's nobody here." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Well, I've got a stage. Of course I'm going to give my all." So
Yeah. Right.
it ended up she was in a band that toured all over the world, and she wanted to leave that band for
Huh.
personal reasons, and so
Okay.
she suggested me for that band, and I ended up going on world tour with this other band as a background singer, and that's how I really got started.
Okay. Wow. It sounds like Germany was a perfect fit, at least at the time, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So these concerts, are you getting a nice crowd now, or is it getting there, or you still haven't reached that level? How's it working out for you?
Well, I just went solo again last year. So at the time that you guys voted me YouTuber of the month,
Yeah.
I was literally just playing my first concerts as a solo artist again after about 6 years of touring with other bands.
Right. Wow.
So it's been good going. It's not
Yeah.
like, stellar. It's still in its baby steps. But
Yeah.
I released an EP last year, and my full-length album is coming out in April.
Cool.
And I'm doing a pre-release concert here in Massachusetts this month. So I'm really excited. Like, the album is sounding really good. I met a bunch of people from all over the world when I was touring with those other bands, and I picked my favorites. And those are the guys that are with me on the album. So it's like a whole band, and it's a lot of fun, and it sounds really good, and I'm really excited.
Well, when you were chosen last March, I believe, as YouTuber of the month, my first thought was, who's Stephanie Forryan? Okay. So I'm like, okay, fine. Let me just take a look. And the song that first got my attention, you might know Dream On. What a beautiful song, I must say. It just hit me like, wow, the lyrics, the voice, the imagery, and I get a vision of the ocean, world peace, doing the right thing, if you know what I mean. And
Hmm.
look, I normally listen to what I call top 40 jazz. You may have heard of George Benson, the
Hmm.
Rippingtons, groups like that, but
Hmm.
I'm almost eclectic, almost everything. And your voice, it just got to me. And I know your songs are more, I guess, more like slow pace versus, say, rockish or something like
Hmm.
that. But when I heard Dream On, my first thought of the song was, what a beautiful song. But for some reason, I thought of the rock group Heart. You know what I mean?
Ah.
And I thought your voice, because they play some nice ballads too. I think one of
Hmm.
them was their first CD, I believe, was called Dreamboat Annie, I think it was called. And what a
Hmm.
beautiful song that was. And your voice could fit in that nice ballad or a rocking song that they used to do, or still do, I guess. But that song really got to me, and since that I've been following you. Now the EP, I have to ask.
Hmm.
I just downloaded the song last night from Amazon, Nightmare,
Hmm.
and that song it's another haunting song, as it were. So the EP, there's two songs. There's one song, Dream On, and one
Hmm.
song, Nightmare. So I have to ask, is this an EP about vampires? I'm just kidding. Just or is there a theme to this? I'll put it to you that way.
Well, I think one of the things with it is, because I've been writing songs since I was 16.
Yeah.
But I'd never actually, I had recorded demos and things, but I'd never actually gone into a studio and done, a full production
Yeah.
with everything. And so this for me was the very first song I ever wrote is the very first song on that EP. And the very newest song I wrote, which is Nightmare, is also on that
Mm, okay.
EP.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just kind of wanted to create as the very first thing I ever released. I wanted to kind of summarize my journey to that date because it's been, a crazy ride. Like if I had planned my life, if I had been able to plan my life, or if it had gone as I had planned when, say, I was 18,
Yeah.
it would have gone so much differently. And I'm so glad it didn't happen the way I planned it.
Mm,
I'm so glad that, I just kind of let life happen. And it's kind of hard to do sometimes because it's scary, but
yeah, 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 yeah.
and nightmares come along, but in the end, it's worth it because the whole picture that it paints
Right.
is actually really exciting. And so I think that's what I was trying to capture with that range of songs.
Well, sometimes, and I'm guessing here as an artist, you just have to follow a gut instinct. What feels right, what's right. I know you did a short video on trying to pick the right cover for the EP cover art.
Yes.
And you went back and forth. I think I threw in a joke. I can't remember the joke now, but you went back and forth, back and forth. I think it was you chose something about butterflies or something.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay. So how long was that process?
Well, the whole process took me about, I'd say, a month to get right, but a lot of it was just because I do everything myself, and I didn't know how to use Photoshop.
Ah,
I kind of learned by doing, like, it's the same thing with my videos. I think if you go to my YouTube channel and you watch my videos, you'll see a gradual progression as I slowly learn how to do things.
right.
And it was kind of the same. I think if you say watch that video on how I did the album art, you kind of see a progression of me desperately trying to do anything with that
Mm,
picture. And
mm,
then you finally see, the vision that I had originally start to actually come to life.
hmm. How long did it take?
About a month.
Oh, was that all?
Well, but it was working on it constantly. Like I really spent
I
every free minute working on that.
I understand. Sometimes in doing these videos on like on YouTube tutorials and stuff, sometimes I'll do the recording and then I'll flub it like I'll sneeze or I'll say a bad word and then it's like, well, you know what I mean. I'm sure it
Yeah,
happens to you too. It's
of
like,
course, of course.
oh, flipper guard, or something. Then I look at the time, it's like, oh my God, 3 hours on one video. I have to take a break. So it's probably the same process for you, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the EP, how's it doing?
It's doing pretty well.
Okay.
It's funny because normally, as a musician, you have a live concert to celebrate the kickoff.
Yes. Yep.
And the problem was, uh, the album that's coming out now, that was actually scheduled to come out last year, but the studio that I wanted to work with to do
Hmm.
the mixing
Yeah.
didn't have the time to do it
Mm.
until later. And so I had to kind of think up an EP really fast,
Okay.
to kind of slip in there. And
Right.
so it was kind of a last minute, like, I'll just do a project that I didn't ever think of doing before.
Right.
And
Right.
it was kind of wild and crazy.
For the sake of information for the audience, maybe a brief explanation of what an EP is versus say an album, like a
Hmm.
like a full-length album. Yeah. Hmm.
Yes. Well, an EP stands for extended play, and it basically means it's longer than a single. And an album is like a normal album, or a full-length album is
Hmm.
called an LP, and that's a long play album. So an EP is like exactly between a single and a full-length album.
Okay, sounds about right. Yeah. Now the full-length project LP coming out. What's the title of that? Can you say it?
Yes, it's going to be called Sweet Insomnia.
Oh, here we go again. Dream on. Nightmare, folks. I'm telling you, she's a vampire. Stay away. No, I'm just kidding.
That's me.
Are these going to be 10 brand new songs or a couple songs from the EP on the long play, or is it 10 brand new songs?
It's 10 brand new songs.
Okay, I have to ask, is my other favorite song on there?
It is Small
Small
Town
Town
Blues.
Blues?
Yes.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Now, is it the slow one or the fast version? Because I got to think, Stephanie, but on YouTube, I
Hmm.
caught your song. And I think it was a promo for some kind of equipment called VX, and you played a fast version of the song, which I
Yes.
really like. So which version is on the LP?
It's the fast version.
Yay! I love it. I love it. See, I love the song because I was born in Brooklyn, New York, a real small town. Not. But where I live now is a small city. In fact, where I live now, speaking of singers, this town is famous for well, I guess we're famous for famous dead people, including Dean Martin. So you may have heard of him.
Yeah,
Oh,
of course. Who hasn't?
everybody loves. Anyway, I can't sing, but in fact, every year they have, and you're invited if you can make it. There is a Dean Martin festival here every July, I think, hosted by his daughter. It's just a
Ah,
Dean Martin festival. They have like impersonators are really good. I think some comics. I think it's on a weekend. It's every year, and I have to tell you a brief funny story. My cousin, I have an older cousin who's retired, but he was telling me about this. This is maybe, I don't know, maybe 9 years ago. He
hmm.
says, what's all this fuss about the Dean Martin thing? So he says one day he went down to the local high school
Hmm.
downtown where she was signing autographs and meeting with the, like dignitaries, a senator or whatever.
Hmm.
So he says he went down and he invited her in Italian, okay?
Hmm.
Next Saturday, if you have no plans, would you like to come to my house for coffee? Now, he said it in Italian.
Hmm.
He didn't know anything about her. Her
Hmm.
reply was, I have no idea what you just said, but it sounded nice. So she accepted.
Hmm.
So he's telling me the story over coffee. He says, so I called my wife and he says, hun, next Saturday, don't make any plans because Dean Martin's daughter will be over around 1 o'clock and hello? Hello? She hung up on. She thought it was a joke. Anyway, she came over with her husband. I wasn't there. And they talked for a few hours and then talking about, Dean Martin's life, his life here, about Italian culture. And I guess it was a very good conversation.
Hmm.
And then I guess she invited him over to her house in California, Palm Springs or somewhere. But he doesn't like to travel alone. I'm like, I would have went with you. You should have said yes. Anyway, but that's Dean Martin's quick life story. So
Hmm.
now, so you said the LP is done. right?
Yes, it's done. It's being pressed as we speak.
Okay, so before I forget, you can catch the EP. I got, you can check it on Amazon. Where else can people purchase your songs?
It's on Amazon, iTunes, Google Play. If you actually want the physical CD, buy that at Bandcamp. You just go to the Bandcamp site and put in Dreamer and Stephanie, and you'll probably find me because my last name is Forryan, but most people don't know how to spell it or
Mm,
pronounce it. So,
okay.
exactly. But
Well,
that's there. You can also get the download there.
cool. I'll have all the links below in the show notes for you. You can
Oh,
also check
excellent.
out your website, stephanieforian.com, I do believe.
Yes.
Of course,
Perfect.
on YouTube and all that good stuff. So the LP is done. So one of my favorite songs is on. Have I heard anything else that will be on the LP?
Let's see.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Oh, well, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. I'm taking part in the NPR Tiny Desk concert, and I uploaded a song for that, and that song will also be on the LP as well.
Have
It's called
you
Whispers.
thought of a okay? Have you thought of a single to be released, or you're not sure, or
I'm not sure, and I've played it to a bunch of my colleagues, and
ah,
every single person suggests a different title. And it would be very clear if everybody said, "Oh, it should be this one or that one." Then it would be easy. But I haven't gotten a clear anything. And so what I'm thinking of doing is maybe, the thing is the versions on the record are
yeah,
very different because I'm playing with different people and I did a
right,
lot of overdubs, so I'm
yeah,
singing with myself.
yeah,
But what I was thinking of doing is, I'm putting up several videos in the next couple of weeks of, me performing the song solo
mm.
on my YouTube channel and then seeing, which ones people like best. And then maybe basing it on that. I'm not quite sure.
Well, I haven't listened to it yet, of course, but my choice is, of course, Small Town Blues. It's just catchy. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, it's just catchy. What could I say? That's my choice. Did anybody else pick that, by the way? Or was it just me who picked that one for the
Well, I have
song?
noted now I have 2 votes for Small Town Blues.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's better than one. You
That's
know,
very true.
I just thought of a single for your next project. Dream on Dutch chocolates. Okay. All right. Maybe not. Okay. Okay. So when is the LP coming out? The official date for
The
the release?
official date is April 15th of this year.
Oh, so that's just around the corner.
Yep, and it will be available pretty much anywhere you can download songs. It'll be
Cool.
there.
Now, did it take you a month for the cover of this CD also to
Well,
do
this
the
time I,
cover?
I knew at least how to use Photoshop, so I didn't
Ah,
have to, learn that, which was good.
right.
But the problem with this one is, with Dreamer, that was actually like kind of a concept album.
Mm,
And this album, the reason it's called Sweet Insomnia is because I recorded a bunch of the overdubs or like my parts, the guitar parts and the vocal parts.
yeah.
I had the band do it in the studio because it's
Yeah.
very complicated to record a drum set. And I did my parts. I went to my parents' house because they have this beautiful room that just sounds very nice.
Cool.
And so I spent about 3 months at their house and was doing the recordings of it there.
Yeah.
And the only problem is they live near a main road. And so I can't record at any time that there's a lot of traffic. So I could only work from 11 at night to 4:30 in the morning
Okay.
because that's when the traffic stops.
It makes
So
sense. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
yes, and so, but if there's any reason not to sleep, then making your dreams come true and making music is probably one of the best reasons, and so that's why
Yeah,
it's called Sweet
right. Right.
Insomnia.
Oh, duh. Of course. Now, I know some artists, like for some projects, they'll write maybe or record 20, 30 songs and maybe pick 10. Was that the same
hmm
process here?
It was. We recorded 22 songs in
Okay.
the studio,
Okay.
and then I picked the best 10. And I still have some that I even have a couple of different versions of several songs.
Mm,
And I wasn't even sure which one to put on the album. So I think in total we had about 32 songs to choose from, including all the different versions.
right, right. On the EP, the version of Dream on the EP, I believe, sounds a little bit different than the acoustic version on YouTube.
hmm
And I like both. If I had to pick, would probably the EP version a little bit. There was some other stuff added, like you said, like the overdubs or whatever. It sounded
Right.
more polished, as it were.
hmm
The Small Town Blues, I think the acoustic one is wonderful, but it just sounds like the song was made to be, as you said, faster, more motion of
Yes.
it going. So I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah, that song, that and Dream On. Well, first it was Dream On, and then the Small Town Blues also got to me too. So after this one, do you have? I'm assuming that there's enough songs for a follow-up LP if things go well, or
Yes, I've already got an idea for. I'm not sure if it's going to grow into a full-length album or if it's
yeah,
going to stay an EP, but I
right.
definitely have. Well, I've got about 250 songs on backlog that I could try to produce this time around. It depends on what I'm in the mood for, but I'm also always writing new things.
250 songs.
Yes, but
Oh,
not all of them are good though, because my theory about creating is you just have to kind of, create, and some of the things are just going to be really, really bad. So some
right,
of my songs are embarrassingly bad,
right,
and
right.
I think some of them are pretty good. So I just try to pick the best ones.
Well, I have to tell you, it's hard to imagine a bad song with your voice. It's wonderful. No, seriously, I know it sounds corny, but well, that's why I'm here. Your voice just it's there. I think it's wonderful. Sometimes like when I was first starting off on YouTube, it took a few months, but I had people commenting, "Dude, you got such a calming and soothing voice."
You do.
Oh,
They're definitely right.
I wonder if we can merge our talents. Gee, now you got me thinking. I feel like a psychologist. So, Stephanie, how long have you had this problem with music? Tell me. The process for the songs and the LP. I have to ask you this. Did you
hmm
consciously go out and pick, say, the fast ones versus the slow ones, or you just went by feel, by instinct of what you think were the best songs?
well, when we picked the songs to go into the studio with, because we only had a very set amount of time, we needed to plan. And we had 2 weeks of rehearsal time and
Yep.
2 weeks of studio time.
That's not a lot of time, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, but when you think of, I think it was the Rolling Stones have recorded albums like in one afternoon.
Wow. Really?
So I mean, they didn't. They also sound like they were recorded in one afternoon. But
I can't get no. Yeah, right. Satisfaction.
and
Okay.
there's a certain charm to that. That's not a
Mm,
criticism. But at
yeah,
the
yeah,
same time, you can. I think you can hear the difference between their albums that were produced over the course of a year
yeah.
as opposed to the ones done in an afternoon. But the songs that I had done were actually, I mean, I had written them over the course of maybe 10 years.
Right.
And I just kind of handpicked the ones that I kind of felt the best about or that I thought represented me. And then when I was putting the album together, you want to make sure it's not very monotone because
Yeah.
sometimes, you'll buy an album and it's like you're listening to an album of the same song.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I wanted to try to, and I really like it when I buy an album and every song has something special.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to, when it was down to the final choices and, I had the all these different versions, I tried to pick the ones that complemented each other and that kind of,
Yeah.
set things apart.
Right. Hmm. There's a band that I follow out of the UK, and they're called Down to the Bone, and I'll give them a small plug because they're awesome. I've been following them since my days in Orlando, Florida. But the lead guy, his name is Stuart Wade, and if he listens, hi Stuart. Years ago, well, about 9 years ago, he sent autographed pictures to my boy at the time, all the way
hmm
from the UK, and I thought that was so cool of Stuart. Anyway, Stuart is the leader of the band, but check this out, Stephanie.
hmm
He doesn't play any freaking instruments. He hums the ideas on a small tape recorder.
Uh-huh.
It just, I guess he envisions these tunes like, he just does it.
hmm
And then he gives the recording to the band. He says, here, write this.
Yep.
So I asked him, I'm like, he says, that's how it works. And it's like of all the things, but the band, they've released, I think, 10, 11 CDs, and each one is just, I'm like, what a talent. What a gift. I wish I could do that, but I can't. But anyway, I just wanted to mention Down to the Bone. They don't, every once in a while, they have like a guest singer on. Check them out. They're called Down to the Bone. Each CD they've done is just fantastic. Never a disappointment. It's the same theme, jazzy, funky, happy feeling type of songs. But anyway, I just wanted to say that because I know that the process is different for each artist.
hmm
And now what they do is somewhat unusual because obviously you write all your own stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how do you get inspiration for the song? Is it in dreams or nightmares, or you just something comes to you? You might see something in nature. How does that work?
Yeah, it happens all over the place. And I think, most of my inspiration just comes from whatever happens to be around me at the time. Like I
Okay.
grew up in a small town and it was really rural. And so I used to be, mostly inspired by nature and that sort of thing. And then I moved to Berlin, which is this huge city.
Yes.
And at first it was too much for me. Like I just didn't like it. And after about 3 months, I fell in love with it there.
Mm,
And it's like once I found my rhythm there, all of a sudden, all these sounds of, the cars and the people, they started to inspire me too. And I think it really changed my music a lot.
right, right. So like I said, it was just the natural thing to do, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I mean, I've written song. I think I wrote my first song when I was 4. I mean, it was not impressive. It was
Yeah.
about 4 notes, but like it was just something I kind of did and I never really thought about. And I think it's also because I think the easiest way, like if I'm talking about emotions, I'm not all that great at expressing myself, but I can do it in song just fine.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe that was my way of overcoming my inability to talk about how I'm feeling.
Mm. So it sounds like at this point of your career, this is where you want to be in terms of feeling comfortable and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Like I think today is a really exciting time, just because back in the old days, it cost millions of dollars to get a professional recording.
Mm,
And
yeah.
nowadays, you can do it on a budget, and you can be an
Right.
artist and do everything yourself and get to a point where you find your own sound.
Right.
And then,
Right.
hopefully it'll get to the point then where it grows enough that,
Right.
it
Right.
can go further.
Yeah, I mean, technology has changed everything. I mean,
Yes.
really, what you can do with, like what I do and what you do, it just makes it more convenient,
Hmm.
because you can do all the stuff at home, right?
Yes. And another, thing that is just, anytime I don't know how to do something,
Yeah.
I look it up online.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the internet is my teacher.
It's the library to the world.
Yes, it's
Everything is
perfectly.
on there. Anything you need, it's there.
Hmm.
You just have to find the good parts and, and just delete the bad parts, as it were. So,
Exactly.
all right. Well, speaking of, okay, before we go into the technology, we'll talk a little about the technology stuff because I think you just use the Mac stuff normally, right?
Yes.
Okay. The song "Dream On." How did those lyrics come about?
Well, I was one of the things when you're an American living abroad, it's not always easy to register to vote, because a lot of the websites, for the individual states don't work. And it was an election year.
Yeah.
And basically, I was working together with an organization that had no party or anything.
Yeah.
And the only purpose of this organization was it was Americans trying to help Americans register to vote.
Okay.
um, because I think that it's important to have as many perspectives as possible,
Yeah.
in the political process. And one of the things that when you're living abroad, you kind of see things from a different angle, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's all sorts of conservative and liberal people living abroad, and so I think
Right.
it just
Right.
rounds out everything. And so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was working with this organization, and they were having a huge concert at the Brandenburg Gate.
Hmm.
And they said, will you write a song for this? And a bunch of artists had written songs for this movement, and this
Yeah.
one of the songs was this idea of, because everybody, they write these political songs and they're all negative about what we need to change and what's so
Right.
horrible.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
I wanted to focus on, let's work together. And
Yes.
let's not complain about what's not working. Let's sit down and
Yes.
let's dream up a better world, and then let's do it. And so that was kind of the thinking behind that song, and that's how it got started.
Wow. Beautiful. Yeah, I've always told my friends, and I've tried to tell my son. I said, you know what? I believe in only one party, and he would say, "What's that?" The human party, because that's the
Hmm.
best party of all. So, but that's my thoughts as far as the politics go.
Yes.
All right, let's talk a little about the technology. You use Mac products, so exactly what do you use to get all this music, done?
Well, most of the time I'm using my MacBook Pro
Okay.
and an Apogee sound card.
Okay.
It's a little one, it's a Duet. And I use different microphones depending on what kind of sound I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And then, if there's different guitar effects and things, then I use individual effects from different companies.
So this is basically a one-man band, as it were, right?
Yes,
It's
well, like
just
Dreamer, I did everything myself except on one song.
mhm.
A friend of mine, that very first band that I toured the world with,
Yeah.
we still work together a lot. I write stuff for his album and I
Hmm.
sing on his albums, and he played bass on my album.
Hmm.
And so he played bass on Dream on that
Hmm.
album. But
Cool.
other than that, I did everything myself.
Okay.
And for this new album that's coming up, I had a drummer and a bassist and a couple of guitar players. But other than that, I did pretty much everything myself.
Cool.
So I
Many,
had to learn how
many,
to be a producer.
many sleepless nights, huh?
Yes,
Late nights. Yeah.
very many. Yes.
Maybe your next album should be just called Pillow Talk or Pillow Sleeping or something like that. I'm not sure, but
I know. Either that or I'm just gonna have to start getting more sleep so I can have new inspiration.
yeah, you don't want to burn yourself out,
Very
It's
true.
yeah, yeah. So, for the YouTube videos, what kind of cameras do you use?
Well, I started off with a camera a friend recommended to me years ago, and it's a Canon G12.
Okay.
And then I wanted to do some live stuff just because I think it's really useful as a performer to see yourself live because you don't ever
Yes.
see yourself.
Right.
So I got a GoPro to do that.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, I invested in a Canon 70D.
Okay. All good stuff. If I those ring a bell somewhat, but that's all good stuff. Sure. Yeah.
Hmm.
One of these days I may just splurge and get one of those 4K cameras, but I'm like, do I really need a 4K? Because what I do, it isn't like, like concert stuff or crowds or anything with low lighting.
Hmm.
But I think a 4K camera would be nice to have. But is it necessary for me at least? I'm not really sure about that. But it's
Well,
just,
there's also the question of how much data that creates.
oh, it's 4 times.
Exactly.
And that has to be compressed. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't want to do more work. I want to do less work.
I know. And I have so many hard drives right now. Like,
Let me guess, you have 41.
that's probably close.
Yeah, it's this stuff that we do can be extremely time consuming. Sometime, well, there were times in the past I would do a tutorial on how to install this or that in Linux, and it'd be like
Mhm.
27 minutes part one or something like that. So, you know what? I
Right.
can't do this anymore. I want to get in bed like by the crack of, noon if I can. But
Right.
anyway, but so it sounds like you have all the equipment that you need now. The Max, how often do you upgrade or do you keep it till it just drops or how do you work it out?
I'm of the opinion never touch a running system. So if I can run it into the ground, I will. Um, and I also,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
I definitely need to upgrade my sound card
Mm.
because I don't have enough inputs. But it costs money, and so I'm just kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
waiting for the time when I know that I'm definitely going to need it, and I'm putting it off to the last minute. And I like when it comes to software, like the software that I use to record,
Yeah.
there's new versions of that out there.
Yeah.
But I'm not a first adopter
Mm.
when it comes to that stuff because
Sure.
I like to read what other people experience, and everything about the newer software has just been only negative. And
Wow.
so I'm very glad that I've waited.
So I guess what's that saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. And so
Wow.
I'm just hoping that this software will continue to work when I do have to update my computer, because
Right.
that will be totally tragic if it doesn't.
Well, I guess you'll know when it's time because it just won't work anymore, I suppose. But
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. I back up everything I can in a
Sure.
format that I can use, across different systems, and
Yeah,
then
sure. Yeah,
hope
yeah.
to God that I'll never have to use the backup.
Well, I'm a big fan because the stuff I do, like when I show people, like if you want to try Linux or try this, you always back up first and then back up again.
Yes.
If there's one thing that you want to take time is backing up your precious photos, of course, in your situation is music. Back up first and then experiment, as it were.
Yes.
But I'm a big fan of backing up, whether I do Windows or doing stuff in Linux. But definitely words of advice for not just artists, but just, mom and pops. So there you go.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So I guess we can wrap it up here. So you said you'll upload some sneak peeks of the upcoming CD coming soon, you were saying?
I will, and I'm going to have an online release party on April 17th.
April 17th.
Yes, and
Okay.
that's going to be on Facebook. But anybody who wants to can just go to the page, and basically I just keep posting things. So you just refresh the page, and there's new stuff all the time.
Okay, so there you go, folks. Check out StephanieForryan.com on Amazon, and I'm sorry, what were the other websites again? To check.
Google Play and
Okay,
iTunes and Bandcamp.
excellent. So April 17th is the release party, you were saying, right?
That's the online release
All
party.
right, okay, so make sure you check that out. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, folks. Thumbs it up, like, and you better do all that. If not, I will call Guido in Sicily and get it all taken care of. No, I'm just kidding, but
Woohoo!
so anyway, Stephanie, this was a lot of fun. This was terrific.
For me too. Thank you very much for
And
inviting me.
you are very welcome. You are welcome anytime and dream on, as it were. So, all right. So, folks, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for joining me for another discussion. It's been a while since I've done a podcast. Yeah, it's been a while. Anyway, I'm glad it was this one. So, check out all of our music here on YouTube and the websites we just mentioned. And I'm sure we'll talk again, maybe before or after the release party, see how things go. And I can't wait for the song, my favorite song. Are you going to give us a little clue on that one on the next video of yours?
Perhaps I have to look in. I might have
Oh,
some
please, please,
video
please,
footage.
please, please, please.
I might have some video footage of us mixing it in the studio. I'll have to look at that.
That sounds cool. Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
cool. Okay, great. All right, folks, that's it. And we'll catch you next time. So, as always, enjoy your technology and please don't text and drive. Be safe. Ciao.